Reading your book, it was very affecting how you were in high school when 9/11 happened, and you just like were like, oh my gosh, like the entire perception of Muslim Americans has been changed by this event. Now, certainly they're different in many respects. I mean, everything is different, but I will say that the closest analog I can think of to the fact that now Asian Americans are perceived as responsible for the virus was in your own experience as a Muslim American post 9/11.
Yeah, no, it is devastating to watch as people who are doing nothing but trying to protect themselves and their families from what we're all trying to protect ourselves and our families from are now being hit with the added burden of discrimination simply as a function of what they look like and where their families come from. And yeah, I remember being a junior in high school when 9/11 happened, and I remember it was the beginning of the school year, right? So you're still excited about school starting, and you're just getting into your groove. And for me, it was the first time that I went from being a brown guy with a funny name to being a very particular kind of brown guy with a very particular kind of funny name. And then all of a sudden, right, everybody sort of knew all of the epithets. They knew all of the stereotypes. For our family in particular, my little brother, who's 8 years younger than I am, his name is Osama.
Oh my gosh. Wait, if you were a junior in high school, that makes you like 16 years old. He's like 8. He was 8?
Yeah.
Oh no. Yeah. That would have been brutal. I'm sure at some point he even thought about like, maybe I should like go by another name. Did he like adopt another nickname?
To his credit, my parents asked him, they said, you can go by Sam. We'll just start calling you Sam. He said, no, my name is Osama. That's what you named me. And that's my name. And I'm proud of it. And it was a sort of a moment of just being like, that takes a lot for an 8-year-old who's getting bullied left and right. My brother's also kind of like your brother. He's just one of those really, really good, nice people. And his response when he'd get bullied for his name, and of course it still happens, wasn't to lash out, wasn't to hit back. His response almost always was just this like extremely emotionally mature response, which was, when you say that, it really hurts my feelings. And it just diffuses everything, right? People are just, when they hear that, they're like, oh, I'm sorry, man. Like I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. And it's just so, emotionally mature beyond his years. He said, I'm not ashamed of who I am and what my name is, and I'm proud of my name. In Arabic, it means lion-hearted. And in fact, my parents, my full name is Abdul Rahman. It's 11 letters long, and nobody can say it. So I became Abdul before I started preschool because that was 1989, and Paula Abdul was a thing, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was a thing. And then 8 years later, they have my little brother, and they're like, we got to give him an easier name. So let's just do Sam with O on the front and A on the back. And so like my parents are 0 for 2 on boys' names. But yeah, it went from all of a sudden being different to being a very particular kind of different. And you knew exactly what the stereotypes were going to be and how it was going to hit you. And so, my heart goes out to Asian American folks in our communities who have to bear this. And I'm just deeply sorry. And I'll tell you this, whenever and if ever I see it, I want to call it out. And I think all of us should make that commitment to call it out because it's wrong, it's dangerous, and it's hurtful. And it's something we need to always constantly be doing work to root out in our societies.
Now, when I think about the people who are affected, for whatever reason, I just keep thinking about this Chinese family I met in Iowa where they just ran like the local Chinese buffet. And they were very, very sweet people. And right now, I'm sure every restaurant in that town is closed. But I have this sinking feeling that even after restaurants reopen, that family's business is going to be worse than it was. And that's going to play out across Chinatowns around the country, around, those like ethnic food marts that I personally love. Whenever I see like an Asian food market, you're probably the same way, like probably like when you see like certain ethnic food markets where you just run in and just like, ooh, and then you get like 4 or 5 things from your childhood that remind you of that.
That's right.
Like I have this sinking feeling that all of those businesses are going to suffer because people are just going to not want to go to that restaurant, that Chinatown, that community, that food market. And I think it's going to persist. Do you have any tips for folks who are like new to this?
I think certainly people of color in our country have experienced this for a long time. And also, it's important to call out that COVID-19 has had a disproportionate impact on Black Americans and Native Americans. And so we're seeing structural racism play out in a number of ways.
Yeah, that's happening right in Michigan, right? I think I just saw the stat where African Americans are 13% of the state of Michigan, but 40% of the deaths so far.
That's right. That's right. And so, I don't know that I can share anything that other folks haven't already experienced or thought through. But what I will say is, number one, we all have a choice about where and how we spend our money. And so if you've got an ethnic grocer in your community who you think is going to be in trouble because of I hate to say it, the xenophobia and the discrimination in a community, make sure you go spend your buck out there, right? That's a simple thing that all of us can do. Number two, I think, the impact of this is so much more disproportionate on young people because it frames the way that they think about themselves. And I think one of the most important things that we can do is make sure that we're constantly empowering young people who face discrimination on a daily basis and reminding them that they're beautiful, that they're meaningful, that they matter, that they have power, and that we are proud of them, right? Because that's where they get their own sense of their pride and their value and their sense of belonging. And then number three, that I, in my life, used to respond to a lot of this by hitting back. And I found that just over time
Yeah, just so you know, I don't know if people can see you, Abdul, right now, but Abdul seems like a pugnacious type in terms of like he like played football, I think, in high school and like
That's right.
Yeah. Generally, like, certainly I could very easily see like if someone gave you shit in high school, you'd be like, all right, let's see.
I hate to say it, it's sometimes my first reaction, but it's never my best reaction.
Well, I think part of it's just like where you are, in terms of your maturation stage. Like, because I can imagine in high school, you would just hit back immediately.
Yeah.
College, probably same. But I mean, at this point, you're like a dad. You've been like the head of the Department of Health of the city of Detroit. You pretty much have to learn to have a very thick skin at some point.
The other thing you start to appreciate is that people who engage in this form of behavior, oftentimes they do it because they've given themselves license to try and take away your humanity. And I think, if I learned anything from my little brother is that in that response, when he would say, that hurts my feelings, what he was doing was very, very clearly asserting his humanity. People have feelings, right? And if you're able to look at somebody and say, what you said really hurt my feelings, it forces a certain empathy because all of us have had our feelings hurt. And I just think that there is a space to ask, why are you saying what you're saying? And how can I show you that what you're saying, actually, it defiles you, just like you think it defiles me. And if we can grapple with forcing people to come to terms with the mutual shared humanity that all of us have in this moment, I think we're all the better for it, right? And then the other thing is one of the points that my mom used to always make is that at some point, you can only control you. And you can ask yourself, what did you do in that moment to bring out the best in someone? And obviously, when someone's being racist and discriminatory, they're not their best. And, some would say, well, I don't owe them anything. And that's true, you don't. But I think there is always an opportunity to ask, how do I bring my best in a situation? And how do I pull out even the shred of what's good in that person that's left? Like, all right, so I've got an opportunity to engage someone who's not being their best. Can I bring my best to bring out their best? Because if you can do that, right, that's the kind of person who truly changes things. That constant ask, it's a hard thing to do. And certainly if you choose not to do it, no harm, no foul, I don't blame you. But there is a real opportunity there, and that opportunity is worth taking, I think.